Hey everybody, it's Penny and welcome back to Live a Day for the month of May. And we are on day 2 and we're going to talk a little bit about menu planning and kind of what's in your pantry, what's in your fridge, what's in your freezer, and how to plan accordingly. Okay, so the very first thing that I want to talk about is this. This is the one that started it all. This started my collection of vintage cookbooks. Not this particular copy, because the actual original copy was my mother's, and that was missing the binder, it was missing the cover, it was missing the first several pages, but it was my mom's go-to cookbook. I had no idea what the cookbook was, and so I took it to an antique book dealer and I'm like, do you know what this book is? And he goes, oh yeah, it's the Meta Giffens Encyclopedia of Cooking. And so he took me to a more pristine copy. So just to let you know how old this book is. This is an additional printing. I don't even remember how old my mom's was, because remember, it was missing the first several pages. So this particular volume, it doesn't even have, let's see. Okay, so the original printing of this book was 1947. So that's the prosperity era, that's post World War II. This particular copy was printed in 1969. So this particular book is just a tad older than, a tad younger than me. Okay, but so, for example, it teaches you cooking adventures with foreign specialties. And it has, this particular copy is telling you about how to cook game. So if you ever want to know how to cook a raccoon, there's recipes in here. How to garnish, how to make pheasant. But one of the things that she has in here, or in one of the other versions, I might have grabbed the wrong book, but she did have menus, and there was menus. Oh, here it is. Back in the, if you want to know the floor plan for your kitchen, she's got that in here too. But what I wanted to talk about was her menus. So picnics and specialty meals. So she has a bunch of recipes in here, or a bunch of menu ideas. And I know that for you and us in our modern world, we would just go to Pinterest and go, okay, this looks interesting, or that looks interesting, or whatever, But just to give you an example, this is a prepared picnic number 2: fried chicken, cold fried corn, sliced tomatoes, coleslaw, buttered bread or rolls, apple pie, cheese, milk, tea, or coffee. So here is a Thanksgiving dinner: apple cider, roast turkey with bread dressing, candied sweet potatoes, buttered green beans, hot rolls with butter, pickled peaches, coleslaw, pumpkin pie, American cheese, and coffee. So, okay, things haven't changed much since, post-World War II. But how about this one for a New Year's Day dinner? A shrimp cocktail, roast duck wild rice, buttered Brussels sprouts, cranberry relish, tiny bran muffins, French bowl salad, I'll have to look that one up, grapefruit shortcake, and coffee. So, I mean, there's all kinds of interesting things that you can find in these vintage recipes that are just interesting. So, like, this next section in this book is called Quick Meals for Homemakers in a Hurry. So, I'm going to tell you a little something, and one of the reasons why we had the demise of home economics in our education system, it has to do with the fact that post-World War II, remember, in World War II, the men went to war and the women went into the factories. And so when the women came out of the factories, they discovered that they liked their independence, they liked making their own money, they liked being in charge of their households and things like that. And they really didn't want to go back to domestication, I guess you could call it. And so, since the American education system has been designed to make employees, there wasn't any value in teaching home economics anymore. And so home economics became less and less and less and less. And so by the early 80s, it was almost completely removed from the American education system. So anyways, that being said, so we're going to talk a little bit about menu making tonight. We're not going to do any of these menus, but we're going to talk about structure and plan when it comes to coming up with your meals. Now, I'm not a big fan of meal prep simply because I like food that's fresh, and I like to cook my own food, and I like to use up what I've got in my refrigerator and my freezers and my refrigerator and my pantry, which is very, very, very ample. And I have to say this, and a lot of people that are in my age group, what my son affectionately calls boomers, we have a lot of stuff, and the reason that we have a lot of stuff is because our parents had nothing. They came from the Depression era, which means there was nothing, there wasn't any food. They had victory gardens. The majority of what they fed to their family was fresh. They just didn't really, they were always in kind of this, we weren't sure whether or not we were going to have our next meal available, and so they tended to kind of hoard food. And so that, unfortunately, I inherited that mindset, and so I have a lot of food in my house, even though I don't entertain. But if you came to my house and I knew you were coming in, and I had like a few hours of notice, I could feed you a banquet, because I've got enough food here that I could definitely feed a freaking army. But I don't entertain armies very often. So anyways, so that being said, we're going to talk a little bit about the modern menu planning. So most modern cooks tend to do a combination of prepared foods and foods you cook fresh. In my home, I tend to cook a lot more fresh foods versus prepared foods, because since I have been doing, since I had the surgery, I've discovered I don't really have literally the stomach to handle highly processed foods. My stomach gets very upset if I eat anything that's really highly processed. And I marvel at the fact that things that I used to think were just the best thing in the whole wide world, like, Marie Callender's pot pie or McDonald's. Hi, Zita. I never, nowadays I eat it and I'm like, oh my God, this stuff is so gross. How did I eat it? How did I eat it? So, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it was like, wow. So I'm being told that my sound's off. So if you can't hear me, let me know and I'll see what I'm doing wrong. So anyways, so hold on just a sec. Let me see. No. Okay. Well, that could be part of the problem. I had my phone on silence. Let me know. Can you hear me now? 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 So maybe that helped it. I don't know. But anyways, I'm going to keep rambling. So, like I said, I'm not a real big fan of meal prep because I really like to eat my food fresh. And who wants to eat oatmeal that you made 5 days ago? Ew, gross. No, so I like to, so I have to be at work at 6 o'clock in the morning, which means I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I have all of my meal prep done by about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm on the road. So yeah, I know that's asking a lot. So another thing that I wanted to talk about before we get into meal planning is I want to talk a little bit about your pre-bariatric life and your post-bariatric life, or if you're dieting, your dieting life, okay? So, all right, so I'm being told that we're still having trouble hearing me. So I'm going to sign off, I'm going to sign back on and see if that helps things.